Thank you.
So we're going to start right now with 9:01, and I'm going to act as the chair of the nomination and membership committee because for those of you that are on here, Mr. Samuel Wright has tendered his resignation, so he is no longer on the board and he is no longer the chair of this committee. You'll get the letter, I'm assuming, Derek, in the package that's coming to them this week.
Yes, ma'am. Per your request, that will be included in the mail out.
Okay. I would like, if you would please, according to the Sunshine Law, this is a committee meeting, but that should be, kept within the confines of this meeting. But it will be in the package. But just to explain why I'm chairing this, I didn't have time to get another chair, so I just appointed myself to chair this meeting. And the reason we all know, for those of you that weren't at the last executive meeting, I think we all were, was that Sharon Gordon advised us that the county advised her that the way that the election was done was inappropriate, was done on paper or by email, and it should have been done out loud. So that, and then there were some questions as to how the voting, the ballot slate came about. And so we agreed that the best thing to do was just to wipe the slate clean, start all over, and have a new election at our next tab board meeting next Wednesday. Are we all agreeing that that's what we're here for?
Agree, Madam Chair.
Okay. So I guess what we need to do is decide how would be the best way to move forward. I'm going to give you my opinion, and then if anybody has a different way they think we should do it, please, tell me. Because, we all have to work together, we're a team. And so what I think should be done is use the nominating committee, which is you guys, because all of you, even Ms. Cooper-Miller, who's the chair of the bylaws committee, which we asked to join us so that she can make sure we're not doing anything against bylaws, is also on the nominating committee. So what I would like for you all to do would be to give who you feel would be appropriate persons to be nominated for this position. Now, we have 4 on. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Give who you feel should be on that slate. And then the names that you give, as long as they qualify, they should be, and we'll decide what qualifying is here in this meeting today. And then Ms. Cooper-Miller, I'm sure the bylaws she'll set it straight if that's not a qualification or it is a qualification. If they qualify, then their names will go on the slate. I'm not going to go through and say, no, I don't want that person, I don't want that person on it. It'll be who you as the nominating committee picks to be on that slate. So I'm going to narrow it down to one name. Then during the meeting, if someone has somebody that they would like to add to the slate, then at that time, we can take, names from the floor. But I think if there's more names on that slate to choose from, we'll have less of that banter back and forth on the floor. And so, therefore, we can create a slate in probably a couple of days based on your recommendation that can be presented at the meeting on Wednesday to the board for them to vote on, and that'd be the end of it. Is there any, is that agreeable, or does anybody else have any other ideas?
Madam Chair, if I may, this is Noreen. I just wanted to say, as I review the bylaws, and it always says to shall study and review all membership petitions and make recommendations from that. And I know that Derek sent out an email to everybody asking if you were interested in being an officer or submit names and all of that. So that would be, in my opinion, considered a petition for the ones that he received back. I don't know how many he got back, but I do suggest that we look at those petitions that were pre-submitted early on, or do you want to go over that process and submit out a petition, a new one, have members send in their names and then form a slate or from
okay, let me stop you right there if I can, please, because you know I'm ADD and I don't have things to write on. You do, so if you have anything, write it down. Derek, did we get response from CAB board members that sent in petitions for people that they recommended as
Okay, Ms. Anderson, nobody submitted that they were interested in running for an individual spot for themselves, unless they did it through the nominating committee and with Dr. Wright, when they created their slate. And I could go over, what those were if we want to go back. But nobody said, I'm just going to say, Mr. Thomas didn't come out and say, I want to be the vice chair. No, I didn't receive any of that from anybody in the Community Action Board. There were no individual persons nominating themselves, unless they did it through the nominating committee that was working with Dr. Wright a couple weeks ago. And I could tell you what those were if we want to go back to that, but that was all done through the nominating committee. So I don't know if you want to do that or if you just want to go forward.
No, we'll move forward. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember getting anything. I remember in the meeting he said how he was going to do it, and I don't remember him asking anybody to submit their name or anything like that. I know last year, we were asked that, but it wasn't by the nominating committee chair because he was out ill. It was by staff. So, but this year I don't remember me even being asked. But for the interest of time, we have to have this done by Wednesday. So I don't know if we have time to go back to the board and ask them for nominations for the slate. I think we're going to have to leave that coming from the floor the day of the meeting, Ms. Vice Chair. I think that's the way we're going to have to do this.
Madam Chair, Chair, excuse me, this is Ms. Hill. Derek should have received petitions from people that nominated other people that sit on the board offices. So I want to make sure that everyone that was nominated, whether they nominated themselves, which Derek said they did not, or they nominated somebody else on the board, make sure that all of those names are vetted and put on the ballot.
Okay. Derek, when you received, did you receive the information that Ms. Hill's talking about?
And Madam Chair, if I may, too, at the first slate that really came out had more than one option on it, I think, but that one was old because I looked at it the other day and I was thinking it was new and I was behind on some things. So there's a slate with other names on it that Derry had sent out early on. And I responded, I was old news, but we may be able to update that slate and use it because of the time sensitive issues we have going on.
Well, the only problem with that is there's people's names on that slate that, according to your bylaws, don't qualify to be on that slate. And so,
Okay, let's be very clear. According to our bylaws, we voted on these bylaws from it's not Noreen's bylaws, it's the Community Action Board bylaws.
I apologize for miswording that, meaning you as the bylaws chair. You know what I'm saying? I'm calling yours. So I mean, you as the bylaws chair. You're the tender of the rules. Is my point.
But if you look on page 19 of the bylaws, and it'll talk about election of officers, and a nominating committee will be appointed by the board chair, preferably during the month of May, and the committee will be responsible for submitting a slate of candidates for office.
Okay.
The chair of the nominating committee will serve as the presiding officer during the election. If no more than one candidate is nominated for an office, the candidate may be elected by acclamation. At the time of voting, the presiding officer will also accept any nomination of a candidate who is not listed on the slate of candidates, but whose name is brought forth. So that's on page 19 of your bylaws when you look in section 9 on the election of officers. And we do have a slate out there that could, it's an old slate, but it's a slate, and then you could use that and have people nominated from the floor if there is any other. That's just my opinion.
Ms. Noreen, this is Ms. Rosa. I'm gonna correct you. There is a new slate out there. I recommended multiple people when I responded to Derek. There is some emails out there, so I think Derek's trying to chime in so he can state his point on that.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, if I may, this is Maria. Ms. Hill is correct. I think that what would be very helpful maybe and move this along is if Derek can send, or maybe if he can share his screen and just put the people who were nominated by the nominating committee, all of the names, and then this committee can look at it and then we can move forward if that is okay with the board.
Okay.
So Maria, Madam Chair, excuse me. One question on what Maria's statement just made, on your statement, Maria. Did anyone else on the board recommend anybody else for office, not just the nominating committee? Did any of the other board members?
No, ma'am.
Not okay. All right.
No,
that's clear. I want to make sure that's clear. So there's no
right
when we come together as a group. Okay.
Rosa, if I may, the meeting 2 meetings ago when we talked about the nominations and how to proceed, staff was advised by the board at that time that it should all go through nominations committee. It was not done the way we have done in prior years where staff has sent something out to everybody on the board. I believe it was Ms. Vice Chair who recommended that staff follow the bylaws and just work with the nominations committee, and that's what staff did.
Okay, so is that considered, I'm just clearing the air so we can all move forward. Is that considered a full democratic process?
I believe if the nominations committee comes up with a slate as per the bylaws, and then as Madam Chair stated, you open it up at the board meeting as anyone who wants to be added to the list prior to vote, I believe that is a democratic.
Okay, I'm satisfied. I just don't want no more drama. So I'm satisfied.
Me too, and that's why
just in case we have to explain it to anyone, we all know the right answers, the correct answers.
Right.
And I agree with you, Ms. Hill. That's why I decided to just move forward. And so what you're saying, Ms. Hill, is there is a slate out there or there should be a slate out there with all those names, or Derek has emails from the nominating committee that they sent in, that we can make a new slate from those names and just move forward, make a new slate, and then call for nominations from the floor, do the vote, which we have to do out loud, and everybody's just going to have to deal with it and get this done.
Correct.
Okay. So
Okay,
that's what.
Sorry, Madam
Go
Chair.
ahead. Go ahead,
Whenever you're ready, I'll be happy to read you the list of names. And if you want me to provide who nominated them, I'm happy to do that too. But either way.
Just go ahead. Let's go ahead and let's do that. Do y'all want to know who nominated them or just who is nominated?
I recommend for full transparency for who nominated. This is
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Full transparency. Who nominated them and who was nominated? Let's go.
Okay, unfortunately, I'm not able to share my screen. I'm not that tech savvy at this moment. But so everyone get your pen and pencils ready.
I don't have a screen anyway. So you're going to have to read it for me.
All right. So for the board chair position, Ms. Rosa Hill received a nomination from Ms. Hill, Dr. Wright, and Ms. Copeland-Miller. Joey Henderson also received a nomination as the board chair. He received a nomination from Ms. Hargret and from Dr. Wright. For the vice chair, William Thomas received recommendation from Ms. Hill and Ms. Hargret. Dr. Myrna Hogue received nomination from Ms. Copeland-Miller. And Rosa Hill received nomination from Dr. Wright. And Joey Henderson also received nomination from Dr. Wright. For the secretary, Regina Gambell received nomination from Ms. Copeland-Miller. And Christine Long received nomination from Dr. Wright. And Ms. Davis received nomination from Ms. Hill. For the parliamentarian, Ms. Noreen Copeland-Miller received nomination from Ms. Hill and from Ms. Copeland-Miller. And Ms. Janine Hargret received nomination from Dr. Wright and from Ms. Hargret. Those are the ones that I received while we were receiving names from the nominating committee.
Okay. So now we have, I guess at this time, I don't have a problem with that slate except for a couple things, and that's the things I guess we need to talk about next. I do not, and I'm going to say this, I do not believe that we should put somebody back in a position that did not carry through their commitment the first time around, or I think 2 times around. I'm not sure how many times Ms. Hargret was parliamentarian. I think 1 year, 2 years, and somebody helped me out. I don't remember.
She will be completing her first year, so if she were to be nominated, she'd be going into her second year.
According to the bylaws, which I have read and I have, and Ms. Copeland-Miller's bylaws chair has shared with the entire board, you cannot miss more than 3 of the executive board meetings in order to stay on the executive board. And she has attended, last year she attended, from what I understand, 2 out of 11 meetings. I don't believe that is a viable candidate on that slate.
And Madam Chair,
I need opinions.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may too just add to there, thank you for reading out those names. And I resubmitted a slate, and I hope that it can be honored this morning for the parliamentarian, replacing my name, putting William Thomas there. I put my name on there for the mere fact that I had not had opportunity. We hadn't had a board meeting, and I didn't know if Mr. Thomas was even interested in being a parliamentarian. So, but once after our last board meeting, and it was an indication that he was interested, I asked to remove my name and replace it with William Thomas for parliamentarian.
That was going to be
excuse me?
Yes, ma'am. That was going to be my comma.
Okay, so no, and I did resubmit it to Derek, but it was after the fact, and so he did not have the opportunity to share that this morning. But I did update my slate because I didn't feel comfortable putting his name on there without finding out at the board meeting if he was even interested, and I wasn't able to, because of the sunshine law, get Derek to give him a call because a lot of things were going on. But I did resubmit my slate, and if Derek could share that.
Okay, so
That is correct, Ms. Kobler-Miller, and I had a strong feeling that would be discussed today.
yes, and that was my next thing. I was going to ask. My first thing was to go over the ones that are on there that while we're in the meeting, that anybody, and open it up to anybody that there's somebody on there they did not feel like, according to the bylaws, did not qualify to be on that slate. And since Ms. Hargett did not, perform her duties the last term, I don't see putting her on the slate to just repeat it. So that's what I need is I guess we need to put it. I need opinions. Yes or no? Should she be taken off the slate?
Madam Chair, this is William Thomas. Can you hear me? Okay, Madam Chair, if I can, I know the sound's a little distorted. I don't think it's really even about opinions, as Ms. Miller pointed out with the bylaws. I think it's just, the bylaws are clearly written out, and we can move forward on based on what the qualifications are. If an individual didn't meet the qualifications, then we just say, look, that individual, regardless of opinions or feelings, it's the bylaws of that individual. Appreciate the time of service, but at this time, they're not able to be on the ballot and move.
And I totally agree, Mr. Thomas, but I don't. This is kind of a sticky situation because she should have already been removed, and she should have already been replaced. You see what I'm saying? And,
yes, Madam Chair, I understand.
And she wasn't, and so therefore, you're absolutely correct. So you're right. This is a moot point. Ms. Hargett's name should be removed from that slate. And since now I agree with Ms. Copeland-Miller, and I would like to second her that we should put William Thomas as parliamentarian, because I know for a fact that he has the experience and he knows what he's talking about, because he keeps me straight in Plant City. So I know that he's qualified for the job, and is committed and comes to the meetings and including as many executive board meetings as he can. And you know what I'm saying? So I would like to remove Jenny Hargett and place Mr. Thomas's name instead. Is there anybody else that you guys would like to put in there for the parliamentarian?
Madam Chair, this is Sharon.
Hello?
Madam Chair, this is Sharon.
Yes.
I just wanted to point out there that Mr. Thomas, he's also a candidate for vice president as well. So if, depending on the outcome of the vote, if he's voted into that position, then there will be you'll have to identify another person to fill the parliamentarian role during the board meeting. So it might be worth your while to find another. That's just my thought, but you don't have to.
No, we do need to find a second candidate for parliamentarian. So let's all close our eyes and look around the room and think of who would be qualified for that position. And so you guys think about that. Let me ask Derek a question. on secretary, Christine Long, Samelia Davis, and Regina Gambrell. And I know Regina Gambrell and Samelia Davis have long agree as well.
Actually, Madam Chair, I had reached out to her because Dr. Wright had asked me to reach out to her, and she actually was not interested in the position.
Then she needs to be taken off the slate, please.
Okay.
Because I know that's one of those jobs where I was asked last year, and I said, because that's not my strong point. So that would be wrong for me to take that position.
Okay.
Okay, so take her off there. I think chair, those are good, strong candidates. Vice chair, those are good, strong candidates. Secretary, the only thing there is somebody's time on the board, but I can't personally
Actually, Madam, excuse me, it's Ms. Rosa. Actually, Madam Chair, I was waiting to ask that question. I recommended Ms. Davis. Is there a timeline for being on the board before you can become?
I apologize. This sounds horrible. I keep interrupting you, so I thought you were done. I apologize, Ms. Hill.
Yes, that timeline.
And the bylaws, and Ms. Kovner, please correct me, but from what I understand from the bylaws, there is no time requirement.
You're absolutely right, Madam Chair. But my question to Derek is, has she gone to training for the CAB board? Because that's the stipulation and part of it. So has Ms. Davis has been trained for the Community Action Board as a member?
Ms. Copeland-Miller, since she is a new member and with everything going on currently, she is the only member that has not gone through the initial board training. All the other members have at this time.
Okay.
Is there a way, my question is this, is there a way for her to do that virtually if she were to be elected? Could we, due to COVID and it's not her fault, she can't go to training, she would have already been in training by now. Is there virtually a way for her to do that? Because I mean, I don't mean to be rude, guys, but I went to that training. Y'all could have sent me that.
My only point being is she is that new on the board, and this is just my feeling that she has not attended training, which training plays a big role in attending trainings and conferences and all of that. That's one of the requirements. But she's not had the opportunity to do that by whatever, so the different situations. So to me, that's a no-brainer.
So, Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair, I would not be offended if she was removed and replaced with somebody else that has gone through the training and maybe someone that's had a little bit more tenure on the board.
Okay.
Recommendation.
And right now we have Regina Gambrell, and getting people to say, yes, I'll be the secretary is not an easy thing to do. As Derek will probably admit to. I mean, I know the night we were trying to find one. I know the night we were going around the table trying to find one live, and Madam Vice Chair nominated me, and I'm like,
So, but Regina Gambrell did express great interest at our last meeting.
Yes, so. she was like hopping in her seat. So I think that she is very, very interested, and she's very committed. And I think that unless someone has another name to put in on that slot, we just put Regina Gambrell, and then let Ms. Davis have her time at once she's had her training, and once it comes back up again, the elections come back up again.
Madam Chair, William Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a quick blurb on that. I would like to recommend, Madam Chair, that at your discretion or the incoming chair discretion, that once Ms. Davis completes her training, there are a number of committees. And I would definitely, again, thinking ahead and stop me if I'm out of order, would definitely like to see her engage in a role maybe in the planning committee or something to that effect upon completion of her training.
Correct. I would too, because, for instance, if Mr. Henderson or Ms. Hill were to become the chair, then obviously they wouldn't be the chairman of the committee that they're the chair of now. And so putting Ms. Davis in one of those spots would be perfect. But is there a way, and we're going to go back to my question again, because once the new chair takes over, then they have to make those decisions of who they're going to put where. So I guess right now my question goes back to Derek, or not really Derek, but I guess to Audrey or Maria, is there a way to send her the training virtually? Because this is a very intelligent, college-educated woman that could, do that training on her computers. It's not rocket science.
Madam Chair, this is Maria. Staff will work on getting Ms. Davis the information. As you can imagine, the training staff is a little overwhelmed at this time. We have a lot of projects going on, but we will do our best efforts to get that training to Ms. Davis.
Okay, because I went through the training, and as all of us have, and it's very informative. But it's very, when they do the, what do they call it, guys? Come on, help me here. The PowerPoint presentation. When they do the PowerPoint presentation, it's pretty self-explanatory. So if you could do that, I'd appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may, I was going to say that I think that it would be fair to Ms. Davis for her to be the training, and being the professional person that she is, I think she would prefer it that way. That's just me talking, because if I'm going into a position, I would prefer to be trained first before I commit to something that I'm not real familiar with, and giving her time on the board. And she's a very intelligent lady, as you said. I mean, all the board members are, and I just think that it'd be fair. It would be really doing a disservice to her to even throw her out there without the proper training. I mean, without going through orientation like everybody else, so it does not come back to haunt the board at some point. But in lieu of time, I have a 10 o'clock appointment with my board, so we're going to have to move it along, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't mind.
I agree with you, Ms. Copeland-Miller, and you're right. She is the person that would rather have the training. And but she was asked to commit, and she's the kind of person, if you ask her and she has time, she's going to do it. So that right there shows character. Moving on. So are we all we need now is we need one more person to put down there for the parliamentarian. Any ideas?
Madam Chair, you can always get someone nominate from the floor 3 times. You ask for a nomination from the floor at the meeting, and if anybody does.
So, Madam Vice Chair, if you ask for nominations from the floor and you get 3 nominations for Ms. Hargret, then you're back in the same position that you're in. Or will the board do something saying that she cannot be nominated?
And that's exactly what will be said, is that she does not qualify.
Okay. Well,
I'll put it right, and I'll, if it comes to that, it comes to that. We have a very short agenda for next Wednesday.
Okay. I am okay. I'm just trying to.
Because I thought, we have very, very short agenda next Wednesday, and because I expect if there's any issue, I was trying to, when we did the agenda yesterday, we're trying to expect, there are any issues, and we don't be there till 8 o'clock, so, or whatever, 2 hours after James sets the time for the starting of the meeting,
But that's a good
So we
point,
can-
Ms. Hill, and I do want us to resolve this today. So whatever
Yeah.
this committee decides, I'm for it, so we can move forward.
So does anybody have any ideas of somebody to put in as parliamentarian?
Madam Chair, just to clarify, we have Mr. Thomas for parliamentarian. Originally, Ms. Copeland-Miller was also recommended by Ms. Hill and by Ms. Copeland-Miller. Are we keeping Ms. Copeland-Miller as a potential parliamentarian?
I
I'm
didn't
not
hear
sure.
that.
I'm not sure.
Then that solves our problem right there. Boom, Ms. Copeland-Miller. We got two.
Madam Chair, excuse
Yes.
me, Madam Chair. I am not interested in serving as parliamentarian. I'm not really interested.
You're killing me.
At the time of desperation, I was, but at this time, I'm not.
Matt
Okay.
William Thomas.
Yes, sir.
I would like to nominate, and to ensure that the process is democratic, I would like to nominate Joey Henderson, in addition to being nominated position of chair, to also place him on the ballot to be in position for the parliamentarian.
The only problem.
This is just a nomination, Madam Chair, that I'm proposing.
Okay, we can put Joey Henderson down there as a nomination. I think I really would like one more name.
Well, would it be an issue to nominate Miss Regina, though she's being nominated for position of secretary as well?
She's the only one on the plate for secretary. That's
Okay.
pretty much a done deal.
Okay, Madam Chair. Well, I'm out of options.
Trying to think. Looking around the room.
What his name? Fred. What his name? Oh God, what's his last name? Because he said he might be interested. If you give him a what his name? The one out of Temple Terrace. The gentleman out of Temple Terrace.
Ramon or
Frederick Sells. I'm sorry to kind of.
Frederick Sells.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I guess that's his last name. That's sad that I'm not sure. Yes.
Derek, help us with the name here.
Ms. Gordon was correct. It's Mr. Frederick Sales.
Okay, all right. Then, would you like to nominate him, Ms. Copeland-Miller?
Well, he showed a little interest at the meeting. He just was cut off. So he said he might be. So hey.
Okay,
Yes.
then we can have. Okay, then let's tentatively put him on the slate and have Derek contact him. If he says yes, then let's put him on the slate.
Well, Madam Chair, he indicated that at the meeting. I don't know if you recall, but if we look back in the minutes, he said it was a possibility, but he had didn't get more information.
Right,
But someone help me out who was at the meeting if you heard that response.
That's fine. That's fine, Madam Vice Chair. That's fine. What I'm saying is that let's have Derek contact him because you nominated yourself parliamentarian. Now you're telling us no. So
you're right. Yeah,
we have to make sure he's still interested.
Yeah, that's great. You're absolutely right. You're right.
Because that night he might have been interested. He got home and thought, "Man, I'm glad I didn't do that." You know?
No, you're absolutely right. You're right.
Derek, will you contact him? And if he is interested, put his name on that slate for parliamentarian, and we should have a complete slate there.
Yes,
Does
Madam
anybody
Chair.
have any other recommendations? Anybody disagree with anything we're doing here? Any other comments?
Madam Chair, if I may, can I read back
Yes.
the current list that I have, just so that way, before we go away, and then I'll email this to everyone that's in the nominating
Awesome.
committee as the current slate. Or I'll email it to you, and then we'll go from there.
Yes.
Board chair nominations are Rosa Hill and Joey Henderson. Vice chair, William Thomas, Dr. Hoag, Rosa Hill, Joey Henderson. Secretary, Regina Gambrell. Parliamentarian, William Thomas, Joey Henderson, and Mr. Sales, and I'll confirm him.
Okay.
May I ask Dr. Derek a question, Madam Chair? Were you able
Yes.
to, okay, thank you. Were you able to contact Dr. Hoag, Derek, to see if she was interested?
I have not contacted Dr. Hoag to see if she was interested because since she was never part of a slate that was made to the board
Okay.
from the previous nominating chair, I did not reach out to her because the person that ended up being on the slate that he had me reach out to accepted it. So this is very weird.
Oh, okay.
Then
Okay.
please do
All
that
right.
as well, Derek. Please do that as well. And if she does not accept, remove her name as well.
Okay, I will contact Dr. Hoag.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
Okay, thank you.
I think everybody else on the slate doesn't have a problem with holding the positions they've been nominated for. I know Regina really wants to be secretary. I don't think Rosa or Joey, either one or William have a problem with what they've been nominated for. And we just have to find out from Mr. Sales. So I think we have a complete slate.
Sounds good to me.
Anybody got anything?
I'm fine with it as is.
All right, great. That was easy. Thank you very much, everyone. Derek, if you'd email that stuff out to us, I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, for your work you did with the bylaws for us, and thank you, everyone, for taking your time out this morning to get this straightened out. And we'll all be back together next Wednesday.
On behalf of staff, thank you all for being available for today. I know it was not the easiest thing, and I appreciate everyone.
All righty, y'all have a good day and have a happy holiday weekend and be safe.
Okay, you too, everybody. Take care. Be safe.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.